guys, so we're back, and this is going to be the gameplay changes part. So I kind of thought I'd make a separate video about this because look how many there is. If I made this video combined with the other video, we would have been here for a long time, lads. So I'm going to be discussing each and every change, my opinions on it, maybe what it's done for the game, etc, etc. There's just so many to get into, guys. There's literally so many. So essentially kind of like what is the premise here, there is a ton of nerfs and buffs, and we're just going to get into them. So, the panic attack. Starting off with the multi-class weapons, the panic attack. This is one of our least used weapons. The main culprit seems to be the queued delay / fire aspect, which fights against the basic concept of the secondary slot on classes that can use this weapon, the soldier, heavy, the engineer, and the pyro. Players generally expect a good secondary that is immediately ready to fire, for the rare case where their main weapon isn't available, e.g. out of ammo. So yeah, but if you run out of rockets, if you, I don't know, like if you run out of flamethrower, that's ammo. Okay, anyway, yeah. Or this isn't the optimal choice, e.g. airborne too close, etc. Removing the queued delay fire concept basically invalidates the original design, so we've started over. The goal was to make the weapon immediately usable, remove the large burst potential, which was generally hard to balance, and give the weapon a unique design space to occupy. So the new design is a 50% faster switch speed, 50% more pellet, 30% less damage, fires a wide, fixed shot pattern regardless of server settings, and shot pattern grows with successive shots, e.g. while holding down the attack button, but resets after you stop firing or reload. So I'm guessing what they've done is, I mean, yeah, that's pretty good, I guess. That's definitely more of a buff, I'd say. The shot pattern grows with successive shots, so the more you shoot the panic attack, generally the more accurate it's going to be, and that encourages the kind of reloading it to the point where you shoot out a lot of bullets. So onto the reserve shooter. Pyros are too easily able to take advantage of this weapon's primary feature, e.g. the air blast, and so the damage potential can be greatly exceeded that of the other classes that can also use this weapon. Yeah, the reserve shooter obviously to take down airborne enemies. If you air blast an enemy, you whip out the reserve shooter so quick, you're going to do a lot of damage. So rather than take the heavier handed approach to solve this, we've instead decided to remove air blast as a oh my god, I got so confused for a second. I thought that said to remove air blast as a source of mini crits. So attacks knocked into the air by pyro air blast will no longer mini crit. So you can't actually get the mini crits with the air blast anymore. They have to just be naturally airborne. Added attacks on target flying via thermal thruster mini crit. So that's encouraging the use of the thermal thruster. That's quite interesting. Okay. Wait, no, it's not actually. No, completely forget what I just said. Yeah, so if you will get mini crits on someone using the thermal thruster, but you can no longer air blast an enemy into the air and get mini crits on them with the reserve shooter. So that is definitely a pretty big nerf, and I can imagine a lot of people will kind of stop using that now. The ambassador. Players that are headshot from across the map expecting to see a sniper in the death cam, but they sometimes see a spy with a revolver. So they want to reduce the effective combat range to something more reasonable and expected with the spy. So the changes: the headshot damage is now subjected to distance fall-off effects. Okay. Headshots beyond 1,200 wild units do normal non-crit damage. So the further away you are, essentially, the damage gets lower and lower. So you can't necessarily snipe with it. That's I don't know. It depends what kind of a spy you play, like what kind of playstyle you go for. It's obviously a pretty big nerf, especially if you try and keep your distance and get picks, but that's, I don't know, dude. I'm not sure that is the best approach. The dead ringer, the feint death is an interesting effect, but a good spy can use it extremely frequently, making it frustrating to play against, and reducing the risk of using it nearly constantly. Okay, so rather than make it less interesting, let's make it more predictable to fight against by removing methods by which spies can reduce its cooldown. This should create more of a rhythm to fighting against a spy using this, and introduce a little more risk to players using it. So what they've done is just ammo kits and dispensers no longer refill the spy's cloak meter. That's not too bad of a nerf, honestly. Obviously, as I said, it was quite an issue, and it would get very tedious just killing a spy and seeing him respawn behind you 5 seconds later. So they can no longer pick up ammo for it, and it only regens naturally. That's I'd say that's a good nerf, honestly. I think Valve did a pretty good job with the Dead Ringer. The Eureternal reward. This is the least used spy knife. Technically, the reskin is, but anyway. While silent kill and rapid disguise on kill were good, the downside of the knife is extreme. So they removed. Okay, so they removed the cannot disguise penalty from the Eureternal reward. Added non-kill disguises require and consume a full cloak meter. Backstab-based disguises are still free. Increased cloak drain rate by 33%. So, wow, that there's two pretty big nerfs there, but wow, okay, so cannot disguise penalty is no longer a thing on the Eureternal reward. That's going to be very interesting to see people using that. So the Sandman. The feedback on this weapon has been fairly consistent for a while. Players really hate losing the ability to fight back. Compounding this, the ball has to travel really far in order to disarm players. Being hit by a long range ball ends up feeling random rather than skill. Definitely, I can agree with that. It's not often calculated. Low range ball impacts no longer remove the victim's ability to fire their weapon, but the victim is still slowed. Okay, so you can still shoot when you're stunned. Max range balls now do 50% increased damage. So, okay, the flight time required to trigger the max effect has been reduced to 20%. Ball regeneration time reduced to 10 seconds from 15. So, yeah, they start off with a pretty big nerf. Like, if you shoot a Sandman, they can shoot back at you, but at the same time, there's a few, like, subtle buffs there. Gonna be better to play against, a lot less fun to use. The Bonk Atomic Punch. This weapon was designed to allow scouts to pierce hotly contested areas. While it does this quite well, it doesn't require enough skill, or carry much of a downside. So, they applied a slow effect to the players phasing wears off. Apply a slow effect to the players after phasing wears off. Based on the amount of damage they absorbed, from 25% at low damage to 50% at 200% damage, or 200 plus damage, and lasts 5 seconds. That's pretty cool. I like that. So, you essentially just slow down for a bit after using this, so there is a chance that the people you ran past can catch up. That's pretty cool. The Pretty Boys Pocket Pistol. This weapon is one of the lower owner equipped items in the game. Looking at the current design, it seems that not taking falling damage ranks pretty low on the value scale for a scout, and a flat plus 20% damage taken penalty is basically the kiss of death for a low health class. Goal: make the weapon less of a liability and focus it as get health quick tool with decent burst at the expense of total damage. So the new design for the Pretty Boys Pocket Pistol: 15% more firing speed, up to plus 7 HP per hit from plus 5, and you actually get 9 shots now. I believe before that it was 50%, I think, maybe. So now it's minus 25%. That's good. I like that. I'm gonna be intrigued to see how that works. So the Criticola was a huge issue. I want to see what they've done to this. So the last change for this item added marked for death when the effect ended. This was okay because it forced scouts to get out after a little while, but it didn't add any risk in the moment. The goal was to add more decision thought on when/where to activate and how to manage the risk/reward effect. So they added each attack while active adds marked for death debuff for 5 seconds. Wow. So removed marked for death when effect expires. So the only way now you get marked for death with the Criticola is an attack. So they removed the minus 25% speed bonus and removed the 10% damage taken penalty. So the way they've done it is, what they've done to the Criticola now is, every time you attack, you get 5 seconds of marked for death, so you've got to be really tactical, and you can't just go spamming your pistol, spamming your scattergun, in an attempt to just do a ton of damage. Now you need to be a lot more wary with how much you shoot. I like that. I think that's a good change, you know. The Atomizer. Triple jump as a passive effect is just too strong. It makes combat against a scout unpredictable because opponents don't see the bat and therefore have a hard time anticipating the scout's capabilities until late in an encounter. It also makes a scout very strong against explosive classes due to a combination of extreme mobility and high close range combat. So the goal was to require the scout to deploy the bat to take advantage of the extra jump, which is also a signal to other players that they can perform an extra jump. Yeah, I agree with that, because you would see a scout with a scattergun out, all of a sudden they do 3 jumps, you know they've got the atomizer on, but at that point it's too late. So the triple jump is now only possible when the bat is deployed, removed self-inflicted damage when speed jumping, and removed the attack speed penalty. That's pretty cool. Added melee attacks done while airborne mini crit. That's going to be very interesting. And a 50% deploy time penalty to prevent the quick switch bypass. Okay, reduce damage penalty to players to 15% from 20%. So even though you need to have the bat out now, they've tried to make it so you actually have to you have the chance to use a bat as opposed to it being completely useless. So that's pretty good. So the flying guillotine. This weapon is capable of high burst damage under what sometimes seems like random conditions, such as mini crits at long range, full crits when the target is slowed or stunned by anything, e.g. the Ghost Boo effect, the Natasha, etc. The goal was to remove the feeling of randomness and reward accuracy. So they removed the crit versus stun players, which completely removes the Sandman guillotine method, and they remove mini crits at long range, but they added long range reduce recharge by 1.5 seconds. Okay, and distance considered long range reduced by half of the previous value when determining mini crits. So okay, so that, yeah, it's going to be a lot harder to fit this into like a suitable loadout now, because obviously the guillotine Sandman was like the go-to thing. That's quite interesting. Okay, so yeah, okay, so the base jumper. Players often complain that the base jumper is frustrating to fight against because the target is simply too hard to hit. This is mostly due to the combination of being able to deploy/retract at will and the amount of steering control they have, which makes them harder to hit. So they've reduced the amount of air control while deployed by 50%. And remove the ability to redeploy the parachute once retracted. So that's like most video games, like you see in GTA. Once you pull the parachute, you can't let it go, then get it back out again. That's logical. And you can't control yourself in the air nearly as much. 50% is quite a lot. The man treads. Apologies, I needed a drink. The second least used item in the game. The aerial stomp mini game is difficult, and the gunboats are superior in most scenarios. They plus 75% push force reduction now includes air blast, and added 200%. Wow, okay. So now 75% push force reduction now includes air blast, okay, and 200% air control. That's going to be pretty interesting. You're going to have like full control in the air. So that's pretty sick. Calmangler 5000 cannot be crit boosted. That's all they removed. So they granted earned crits will be converted to mini crits instead. So now you can't pop crits on a Calmangler. That's fair enough. I didn't even know you could in the first place, partially because not a lot of people use it. So, the Righteous Bison. Obviously, there was a few people campaigning to get this buffed. So, the weapon has been reverted to its previous design. Wow, okay, so deals 20 damage per tick, down from 45. This is necessary because the projectile is no longer limited on the number of times it can hit targets. Projectiles are no longer limited on the number of times they can hit targets. Yeah, I just read that. And projectile velocity increased to 1,200 from 840. So they've literally just reverted the changes they made. And now it's back to its previous design, which I'm sure some people will be happy about. Onto the sniper, the Darwin's Danger Shield. The sniper using this item had an advantage against snipers who weren't. As a result, players felt like they were required to equip this item in order to be competitive. Yeah, a lot of people didn't like the Darwin's Danger Shield, so they wanted to remove the increased survivability against enemy snipers. So the new design, they counter ranged burn attacks like flares and strengthen melee fight v pyros. So you now get afterburn immunity and 50+% fire resist. Okay, so what they've done is just made it a counter to pyros, essentially. The Razorback. To reduce the effectiveness of pocketed snipers in stalemate/standoffs, this primarily happens on organised/competitive play, they added a minus 100% overheal penalty, so you can't be overhealed with the Razorback, and the shield regenerates after 30 seconds, so once you get backstabbed it gets destroyed. If you manage to stay alive for 30 seconds against that spy, you get your shield back. That's pretty sick. So they've completely removed getting overhealed with the Razorback. That's sick. I like that. I like that a lot. So there's a few more to go through. Onto the medic. Yeah, onto the medic. So the Vitasaur Ubercharge on death is too valuable of an effect to be passive, so they wanted to change a weapon in a way that requires skill and risk in order to gain this effect. So they added organs collecting a concept. You know, hit someone with the saw and out pops a vital organ which you then take and hold. Each hit with the Vitasaur harvests the victim's organs shown on the HUD. That's a mad concept. I can't lie, that's a mad concept. On death, preserve 15% Ubercharge per organ harvested. The effect caps at 60. So you can charge Uber by harvesting organs. That is mad. Oh, that's going to be so weird if they've got little graphics for that as well. I'm very intrigued to see any materials for that. The Crusader's crossbow. Bolt healing is very high and significantly out-heals the medigun when the target is in combat. This might be okay given the trade-offs, in brackets risk versus reward, of ranged shots hitting the opportunity cost no overheal. However, it's also the fastest way to build Ubercharge under the right conditions. So the Ubercharge gain rate reduced in the same way that the medigun's healing, and therefore Ubercharge build rate, is based on the last time the target was in combat. So reduced by a third when 1 to 10 seconds out of combat. This scales up to normal. Okay, so yeah. Yeah, okay, that's quite interesting. So I think the way I've inferred this, apologies if it's wrong again, it's really late, I'm mad tired. You gain more Uber if you've recently been in combat, or if you're in combat, I guess. That's quite interesting. Okay, onto the heavy. So all miniguns, they've changed the miniguns entirely. The 1 second damage and accuracy penalty now applies to the first of spun up time, whether or not the heavy is firing. Previously, the 1 second damage penalty would only be removed after 1 second of firing. Accuracy and damage penalties now reset when the heavy spins down, rather than when the heavy stops firing. This means if you stay spun up beyond 1 second and fire in bursts, damage and accuracy will remain at 100. That's pretty cool. Okay. The gloves are running urgently. They've changed the gloves are running urgently. Okay, so speed, lack of, is used to balance the heavy's high health, overheal and damage output, while we still believe it's okay to have a class of items that increases the heavy's movement speed. Players have been able to easily bypass the existing negatives. So changes. Added max health is drained while item is active and regenerated while holstered. Health will regenerate only the amount drained while active, minus it. Okay, so each time the gloves are deployed, the drain rate is accelerated for a brief period of time. Remove mark for death effect while active, and remove 25% damage penalty. So, okay, so you do full damage with the gloves are running urgently now. You don't get marked for death when they're active, but you lose health every second. You lose 10 health every second when out, and as soon as you put them back, you start to regenerate that health. That's mad. Okay, I'm not sure if I even needed a change. I didn't see an issue with it, but at the same time, I mean, you don't get marked for death now, and there's no damage penalty. The only issue is losing health every second, which is a big issue. I'm on the fence about that. I'm not sure if that's a good update or a bad update. So the eviction notice, they added the max health is drained while item is active, and regenerated while holstered, so they've just done essentially the same thing. Health will regenerate, yep, so they've done the same thing, and removed the 20% damage vulnerability. I don't think a lot of people are going to use it. I really don't. A Fist of Steel. The downside of increased melee damage doesn't really come into play when it counts, e.g. holding a choke point when a medic is attached. The resulting pool of effective health is unreasonably large. So they added a 40% overheal reduction while active, and added 40% healing rate penalty while active. Jesus, that's a big nerf. Wow. Okay. Oh, that's hefty, you know, because that's a big portion. Okay, so added the second banana. When consumed, the heavy restores 200 health. Acts like a small health kit when dropped by the heavy and picked up by another player. Item regenerates after 10 seconds. So it works in the same way as the sandwich. Only a small health kit, so it won't do a huge amount of health to teammates. Okay. The engineer, only one weapon change being the rescue ranger. The ability to repair buildings safely from range without using metal is powerful. Combine this with the ability to instantly teleport buildings from far away, which by itself is interesting and useful enough in many circumstances, and you end up with a package that's very strong. So ranged repairs now consume metal at a 4:1 health to metal ratio, e.g. repairing 60 damage costs 15 metal. Okay, yeah, that's reasonable. Double the amount of metal applied per wrench hit when upgrading buildings during the setup period. Okay, I don't really understand that one. It might just be because it's super late, but if you guys can let me know what that one actually means in the comments. Double the amount of metal applied per wrench hit when upgrading. So I'm guessing if you have the rescue ranger, it applies a double metal. Oh, yeah, no, I do understand that. It applies twice the metal that it normally would once hit with a wrench. So it gives an incentive to actually use your wrench as opposed to just stay from a distance with the rescue range. Okay. The Cladamere Moor. Okay, this weapon has been reverted to its previous design. The end is near, guys. The end is near. So you don't get plus 25 health on kill, but added a 0.5 second increase in charge duration. So, wait, they buffed it? No, they nerfed it. They removed the 25 health on kill and made it a longer charge. Damn. No, wait, I guess the charge duration is a buff, but that the removed 25 health on kill is a bit of an issue. The pyro weapons, here we go, guys. The pyro update, here we go. So, the Dragon's Fury, primary slot item, used a shared pressure tank for primary and alt fire. Yeah, so that essentially works the way as ammo does with a normal flamethrower. Primary fire launches a fast moving limited range projectile that deals 25 damage and briefly ignites enemies. Wow, it deals 300% damage to burning players and 50% repressurization rate on hit. Damn. Okay, so it only deals 25 damage, but if you hit them again, 300%. Okay, that's big. That's very big. Air blast, 50% repressurization rate on alt fire. Okay, that's gonna be very interesting to use. The thermal thruster, the jetpack. Everyone's talking about the jetpack. Secondary slot item fires a short duration blast that launches the pyro into the direction that they are aiming. So yeah, you can just fly about the map essentially. Deals 3 times falling damage to anything you land on, like the man-treads. Has a 1.1 second holster duration. That's reasonable. Okay. MVM upgrades, able to relaunch while airborne. So in MVM, if you fully power it up, you can just be flying about, mate. You can just be flying about. That's sick. Stun enemies when you land. Again, yeah, it's all MVM and faster recharge rate. The gas passer, a secondary slot item, creates a horrific visible gas cloud that coats enemies. Flammable material then ignites into 10 seconds of afterburn if enemies take damage, even pyros. Man vs machine updates. Enemies explode when ignited by attacks and faster recharge rate. So it's going to work in a way similar to Girardi. That's pretty cool. I'm going to be really interested to see how people use that. The slap attack. I'm so excited for the slap attack. I know it's like the least hyped item from this whole update. I can't wait. Gain a speed boost when you hit an enemy player. 20% damage penalty. That's okay. Every successful slap is announced on the kill feed. So you can just run about slapping people and just gradually picking up speed. It's like the Holy Mackerel where in the kill feed it will show you slapped someone. I just think it's going to be great. The ultimate humiliation. Flamethrowers. Better visual sync. More consistent. No visual / damage is mismatch. New particle effects and applies to all flamethrowers, including like the degreaser, etc. Air blast, hit detect. Yeah, we've actually been through these in the one of the previous days. I mean, yeah. Yeah, we've literally been through these. Afterburn duration is now based on how long the target is in contact. Yeah, so we've actually been through these. I'm sure most of you have seen it. It was in the day 2, maybe? Was it day 2? No, day 2 was... Yeah, it was day 2, I think, because it would be down here with the new items, surely. No, it wasn't day 2. I'm so lost, guys. All this update is just spinning me out. So, yeah, so we actually saw all of this there. So, guys, that is just about it for day 4. The update is tomorrow. I'm hyped. Are you hyped, guys? Let me know in the comments down below. Let me know what you're most hyped for, what you're most excited with, maybe what you disagree with most out of this update. Drop a like if you did enjoy, guys. Thank you again so much for watching, and peace.